Village idiot Michael Bisping is trying to make the case that Stipe Miocic has a good chance at beating Jon Jones, and he wants you to put money on Stipe Miocic. Don't do that. I'll be the voice of reason here. Don't put money on Stipe Miocic. Don't just waste away $10. Just don't do that. I don't know why UFC media always feel the need to like, oh, well, you know what? Stipe Miocic has a good chance. Like, every fight doesn't have to be an edge-of-your-seat fight. You can call out some fights for being a nonsensical fight. I saw the same thing with Nate Diaz and Khamzat Chimaev, where a lot of people were just saying, oh, well, you know what? You can't count out Nate Diaz. Here's a killer guillotine. If Khamzat Chimaev is a bit reckless there, he could get caught and really, really be in trouble. No. Just call it how it is. Jon Jones is going to kick the piss out of Stipe Miocic. Simple as that. But let's listen to some of the stuff that Michael Bisping was saying.
This sport is about what have you done for me lately? And people forget everything that Stipe did. People forget that Stipe, on paper, as you know, you've heard it a million times.
He's been hanging out with Anthony Smith a bit too much. On paper, Michael Bisping
is the greatest heavyweight to ever fight in the UFC's octagon. Okay, he defended the belt 3 times, which is something that nobody else has ever done. Now, yes, that was over 3.5 years ago.
That's a big factor, Michael Bisping. Over 3.5 years ago? Well, yeah, it was over 3.5 years ago, and none of the people he'd be arriving in the UFC anymore. But, you know, let's look past that and instead look at this other thing. That doesn't make no sense. And also, the greatest is a past tense. It's an accomplishment accomplished by your resume, your body of work. Of course, Stipe Miocic is the greatest UFC heavyweight of all time. But that doesn't mean he's good now. Like, Anderson Silva was the greatest middleweight of all time. By the end of his run, with all due respect to fighters like Uriah Hall and Jared Cannonier, they weren't beating a prime Anderson, and therefore their resumes isn't enhanced for beating Anderson Silva. It's simple as that. Not something too hard to grasp. Stipe Miocic is the greatest UFC heavyweight of all time. Stipe Miocic is going to lose to Jon Jones now.
That is what people remember. But let me tell you right now, 3.5 years, that's the perfect recipe for Stipe to make the comeback. Because
what are you trying to waffle on about, Michael Bisping? Oh, you know what? 3.5 years layoff, that's the perfect recipe for Stipe Miocic. Just a dash of pepper here and a dash of bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, what are you on about? Like, how is a 3.5 year layoff somehow a positive? But let's see if he explains it.
Because I'm telling you right now, when you suffer a vicious knockout like that, I've been there, UFC 100 against Dan Henderson, a vicious knockout. The next time you fight, it's still there. You still remember it. You've still got PTSD, the skeletons in the closet, whatever you want to call it, and you might be...
So far what he's saying should not at all lead to Stipe Miocic having any sort of advantage in this fight. He got KO'd brutally in his last fight, might have PTSD, does have CTE, and is 41 now.
A little bit gun shy, and it can also affect your ability to take a shot. Well, Stipe has had 3.5 years. This man's been saving cats out of trees, putting out fires left, right, and center, and just living his life. So he has recovered from that knockout. There will be no emotional trauma going into this fight, and there'll be no physical damage either. That was a very, very long time ago. But
so you're trying to tell me if Cody Garbrandt at this point in his career decided, you know what? I'm going to take 3.5 years away from the sport. He would come back a rejuvenated man with an iron chin and be back in prime shape. That's just not how it works now, is it? You don't just get chinned, KO'd brutally, and then just take off 3.5 years and all of a sudden, you know what? My chin's back to normal now. That's so stupid. That's so stupid, actually. Now I'm thinking about it. So anytime anyone gets KO'd, they should just take a big layoff off, come back, and Michael Bisping's mind, he's like, okay, so they're fixed, they're healed, they're cured. The chin is repaired. What? Anyway, I think I'm going to go over and skip ahead to Michael Bisping breaking down Stipe Miocic's resume, not realizing that resume is a past tense, and some of these wins were literally like 5 or 6 years ago. Oh no, even longer, like 7 or 8 years ago. 9 years in some cases. Like, his resume, his body of work, it's the same thing with Jon Jones. He's in the pound for pound #1 because right now, in the sport, there are people that have probably done more than him in recent times. That have looked more dominant, looked better in their fights, aren't coming off losses to Dominic Reyes. So the fact that Stipe Miocic has done all this, like, it doesn't really reflect how good he is right now, though.
And let's remember what Stipe Miocic did over the course of his career. Knocked out heavyweight legends like Junior Dos Santos, Alistair Overeem, beat Daniel Cormier twice. In the second one, stopped him with a beautiful series of left hook body shots, okay? Knocked out Fabrizio Verdum whilst going backwards with one shot to become the heavyweight champ. He knocked out Mark Hunt, Andrei Arlovsky. These are all legendary.
They are legendary fighters in the UFC heavyweight division, but I'm gonna just raise my hand and on my fingers show you how many of them are in the UFC right now. None. None of them are in the UFC right now. You know why? Because they aged out of the sport. If Andrei Arlovsky was still fighting, and he was recently fighting, you're not going to say, you know what, Andrei Arlovsky back in his day was a dominant heavyweight champion. No one cares because no one sees Andrei Arlovsky as that. And not only does no one see Andrei Arlovsky as that, you know who else they don't see as that? Mark Hunt. Not only just Mark Hunt, Alistair Overeem, who was getting chinned by a lot of heavyweights in the division. Don't get me wrong, Prime Overeem would whoop a lot of ass, but off the juice Overeem, so much Junior Dos Santos, out the UFC, lost outside the UFC even. Nagano, he's still good, but you know, he just beat Stipe and now he's in the PFL. Daniel Cormier retired afterwards as well. He's a commentator. He's literally gained so much weight. Couldn't possibly come back into fighting if he wanted to. So what does this prove? He beat a lot of people that aren't in the UFC anymore. Like, if Fedor Emelianenko all of a sudden decided to fight Francis Ngannou, I wouldn't be like, well, you know, in 2010, this is what happened. I know 2010 is a much longer time ago, but it's the same principle here. Just because you beat the legends of the sport in their heyday, which was years ago, doesn't mean you're still good at fighting. And you can just say, Village Idiot Michael Bisping, that this is a gimme fight. Because that's what it is. It's an old man Stipe coming back after 3.5 years to pad the resume of the GOAT, Jon Bones Jones.
Names in the heavyweight division, and you watching this right now have forgotten all about that. You're like, Stipe's got old.
No one's forgotten anything, right? I remember you got chinned by Stipe, by Francis Ngannou, got chinned by Daniel Cormier, and before that, everyone he's had in the last 7 years, honestly, those guys aren't in the UFC because guess what? They got old, they got worse at fighting, they got let go. Michael Bisping, why are you trying to pretend like this is anything? Like, you're breaking down his resume. Like, if you're making the case to why Stipe is the greatest heavyweight of all time, this makes sense. But this doesn't make any sense to why he's still a relevant win for Jon Jones. Anyway, let's skip on to what's motivating Stipe Miocic.
And people are just overlooking you? Jesus Christ. That is a powerful motivator. That gets you out of bed in the morning, going for the runs, doing the rounds, doing the wrestling, pushing yourself to the absolute limit. So
a lot of fighters have been doubted, Michael Bisping. A lot of fighters lose when they're massive underdogs. Just because you're being doubted doesn't mean, oh, you know what, this morning I'm going to go for 2 sprints instead of 1. So what, you're 41 years old. You're not going to be more explosive because no matter how many sprints you do, there's a normal natural amount of testosterone your body produces. And as you age, that amount goes down. Your strength goes down. And also, one more thing. I don't care how many sprints Stipe Miocic went for. At the end of the day, he was sitting out for 3.5 years, not training more likely than not, and just being a fireman. I don't care in a 10-week camp. Stipe Miocic is going for sprints in the morning, waking up early, going for a jog, lifting weights. Welcome to the normal world of a 20-year-old Stipe Miocic.
Tell you right now, forget about these images of Stipe Miocic walking around with the walking cane. We all get injured. I'm recovering from next.
And I don't care what you're recovering from, Michael Bisping. And also, Michael Bisping, if you came back to the UFC, even though you were a great fighter back in your day, you're getting chinned by Roman Dolidze. Let's be honest here. It's just, obviously you would beat him in your prime. But now, you're getting chinned. Just because you're older, your reaction time is slower, and your neck surgery or whatever. Is that hard to grasp? I'm talking a little bit slower in this video just to let you guys digest some of the nonsense you're hearing. And it's not just Michael Bisping. I'm seeing some YouTube MMA creators as well say, oh, you know what, Stipe Miocic has a really good chance to win. No, he doesn't. And stop padding the resume of Jon Jones. This is a bullshit fight. It's a bullshit main event, and it's a gimmick fight, in all honesty. Just another pathetic, washed-up former champion to just throw onto the resume of Jon Jones. And just to, like, bloat the ego of Dana White and the greatest fighter of all time, Jon Jones. And that argument that he keeps making. Anyway, let's move on to here. Oh god, I can't see nothing. Okay, there we go.
Right now, when we look at this fight, and here we go with the strategy and stuff like that, Stipe Miocic has got an incredible chance of pulling this off.
An incredible chance of pulling this off. And I don't know why Michael Bisping has so much music in his video. And that's why I'm going to skip ahead right now, because I think a massive beat is about to drop, and I don't know if I can actually show that. But anyway, let's go over here. Why Jon Jones can't beat Stipe Miocic. This is the Michael Bisping's in-the-moment analysis of the fight. So not their resume, not their history, none of that stuff. Right now, as it is, why Jon Bones Jones cannot beat Stipe Miocic. Let's see if he makes some sense.
Martial arts, and they're two very, very different sports. So Jon can't assume that he'll out-wrestle him. I don't think Jon has the one-punch knockout power.
Stipe has the power advantage? Why? Oh yeah, I guess he beat Daniel Cormier. He KO'd him. But so did Jon Jones though. Who else? Well, okay. I know Stipe has finished a few people in the past. Like he finished Alistair Overeem on the ground. Obviously the step back KO as well. He finished Verdum. He has got some finishes, don't get me wrong here. Does he really have the power advantage though? Because power isn't just knockout power, it's also just like physical strength, right? And we saw Jon Jones just maul Cyril Gane to the ground and just force his will onto him. And Stipe Miocic is 41. I know he's got good wrestling, but 41 wrestling. 41-year-old wrestling. Like Daniel Cormier was the best wrestler in the UFC by credentials, but by the time he fought Jon Jones was stuffing his takedowns. Well, what could Daniel Cormier do? Nothing. And what was the last thing he said?
Jon can't assume that he'll out-wrestle him.
Yes, he can. He's much stronger of the two. He's younger of the two. He's also a black male, which means there's more testosterone of the two. Just a reality of life, I would say. Nothing to do with race, but kind of. Just African Americans usually have a high testosterone level.
I don't think Jon has the one-punch knockout power.
I mean, yeah, but does Stipe?
He's probably going to be forced to stand.
So? I don't understand. Oh my god, Jon Jones is not going to have to stand with Stipe Miocic. So what? And Cormier was whooping his ass. Until, like, Stipe made some adjustments, but... Like, this is an older Stipe. This is a Stipe that's coming off of PTSD type of concussive damage from Ngannou, according to your words. So...
And yeah, look, listen, we're going to say that Jon Jones is probably quicker, but we don't...
Probably? Stipe Miocic has never been the most athletically quick dude that I've seen, at least. Maybe in the training camps he is. Jon Jones, on the other hand, again, African-American male, has been far more quicker and far more rangy as well, mind you, throughout his career.
Don't know that for a fact. As I said, we haven't seen him really pushed at heavyweight. Cyril Gane, great fighter. The reality was there was a quick and an easy win.
So the reason we haven't seen him be pushed at heavyweight is because he beat one of the best heavyweights super quickly and super dominantly. So why would Stipe have a chance again? Like, why would Stipe be the one to push him at the age of 41? He might be 42. I actually don't know exactly how old he is, but he's in that range. I don't get it. Oh yeah, he's just so dominant. Did anyone say that about Khabib? Oh, well, you know, Khabib's beating everyone real dominantly, but we haven't seen someone really push him, stop the takedowns, beat him up on the feet. Like, of course not, because no one could do it. And I'm highly doubtful Stipe Miocic is the one that's gonna do it.
As I said, we haven't seen him go to the championship rounds in the heavyweight frame. But
he's only had the one heavyweight fight, and he dominated his opponent. Like, why are you just presuming this fight's going 4 or 5? If anything, I would presume Jon Jones probably ground and pound Stipe after Stipe Miocic, honestly, gets overpowered. And big, heavy Jon Jones, who definitely weighs more than Stipe, by the way, gets him down and just ground and pounds him like he did to Gustafsson. Is that a hot take? I think Jon Jones is just gonna do whatever he wants. We might even see the return of the Kimura lock, the key lock, the Americana, or whatever, you know what? Like he did to Vito Belfort.
we have seen that from Stipe Miocic. We've seen Stipe go 5 rounds against many people. One of them was Francis Ngannou.
Many years ago, before Francis Ngannou realized that wrestling was an important part of MMA, Jon Jones, a long time ago, realized wrestling was an important part of MMA. And you don't see Jon Jones getting taken down and controlled, ever. And if we're going off the past, oh, he hasn't done this, hasn't done this. Why don't we go off the past history of Jon Jones literally stuffing takedowns from one of the best wrestlers in the UFC history, from Daniel Cormier? Why is that not a factor?
In the first fight, and he won that fight. Now, yes, Jon Jones is younger, he's sharper, he's craftier. But let's talk.
So he's younger, smarter, craftier, faster, stronger, better, definitely winning this fight. But I'm picking Stipe Miocic. He's got a real good chance. Just put some money on Stipe Miocic and just let it ride and see what happens. Because here's the thing: if he's wrong and Stipe loses, hey man, Jon Jones actually is that great. Like, you guys don't know how good Stipe Miocic is. It's not like we haven't seen him fight in 3.5 years. It's not like we have no clue, literally no clue, what level he's at right now, because he refuses to fight for anything but a title. But trust me, he must have been good for that fight. Is Michael Bisping's logic going to be after the fight? The UFC just setting themselves up. Stipe Miocic is not going to get an upset. And if Jon Jones, you know what it is? If Jon Jones makes Stipe look easy, Dana White, Michael Bisping, Joe Rogan, they're going to come out and be like, well, Jon Jones is just that great. It's Stipe Miocic. It's a former heavyweight champion. Did you guys see what he did to the division back in his heyday? Against that division that isn't even in the UFC anymore? Did you see? That's what they're going to say. And if it's a competitive fight, they're going to be like, oh, well, we told you. Stipe's a real guy. He's a real guy. This wasn't a gimmick fight. Like, the fact that Jon Jones could actually overcome Stipe in a close fight is actually an indicator of how good Stipe and Jon Jones are. Definitely not a gimmick fight. It's not like Jon Jones would definitely get washed out by Tom Aspinall. No. It's not that. They're just setting themselves up to win here. Stupid village idiot fucking Michael Bisping over here. And Joe Rogan's probably saying some similar stuff right now. I haven't found anything from him, but he would probably get lumped into a video if I did end up finding something. But that's the video for today. I just wanted to use Michael Bisping as a, as an overall, a key to the lock. That is the problem that the UFC are pushing this fight as. A competitive fight between two of the greatest fighters to ever fight. Nah, I ain't buying it. It's fat Jon Jones on a steroid belly versus Stipe 42-year-old Miocic. That's what this fight is. It's a gimmick fight. It's a fight between a guy who got KO'd in his last fight, didn't fight for 3.5 years, is coming back to fight Jon Jones because Jon Jones refuses to fight the actual number 1 contender, Tom Aspinall. That's what it is. I'll see you guys next time. I'm on 105 subscribers now, by the way. So thank you for that. 100 subscribers. Hugely honored. But let's get me to 125 now. Come on, let's get these goals going, I want to get monetized. Come on, 125 is the next goal. Subscribe, like. I'll see you next time.